They inculcated in you the values of sacrifice, selflessness, and the virtue of putting others before oneself as a means to an end, love. And so you bowed, you shrank, somewhere you vanished. You reduced yourself to a person who could be easily understood, controlled, and liked. Now I'll tell you the truth. Shouting it out was never in their bravery. The planet will not be able to survive without you. No one can be a light for you if you refuse to be a light for yourself. Prioritizing your own needs is never selfish. Consider it holy. This is the day when ancestral shame is finally overwhelmed by the soul. This is the day when the false deities of affirmation no longer have sway over you. It marks the moment when your heart begins to pound like a drumbeat. Unwavering, unmistakably yours. You're not part of what they anticipate from you. Their shame scripts, their fear dressed as politeness, and their timeline do not include you. You are one with your core self, with a raging inferno within you. Not because your dreams can't come true, but because you choose to ignore them, you become a part of those dreams. The honor of learning from Jung's words. You weren't born afraid. Fear was taught to you layer by layer. It was stitched into your nervous system. Don't be too loud. Don't want too much. Don't stand out. So you internalize the invisible rules and obey them like gospel. When you finally stop betraying yourself, the world changes. That moment, not on a calendar or clock, but in your soul, when you finally say enough, enough waiting, enough people pleasing, enough becoming a supporting character in your own life story, is the beginning of Sephoria, that psychological high that comes from alignment, not from dopamine or external praise, but from the psyche no longer living in fragments and beginning to integrate, from the parts of yourself that feel inconvenient and their messy integration, and not from any external source. Other than yourself, there will always be a storm when you choose yourself. The lies will crumble under the weight of your truth. And this truth starts in the mind. The mind can be your throne or your tormentor, your forge or your prison. You get to decide. If you don't consciously control your mind, it will crush the child, mock, and dreamer within you. Beliefs like I'm not good enough, I don't deserve love, and I have to earn my worth have been programmed into you by wounded parents, insecure teachers, manipulative media, and a distracted society. You must reclaim these beliefs. Rather than seeking additional motivation, you should seek clarity. Clarity is like a blade that cuts through the noise, eliminating shoulds, what ifs, and what will they. Because when you know who you are, you become uncontrollable. Belief is the architecture of your reality. What you believe about yourself becomes the laws of your inner world. If you believe you're broken, you will believe everything that marketers, religions, and other institutions want you to believe. But once you see it, you can never unsee it. Clarity is what makes you dangerous, not violence or noise. Just know who you are. Everything changes when you believe you are here for a purpose, that you are not random and not replaceable. Belief is not wishful thinking or chanting affirmations in the mirror in the hopes that something will stick. Belief is earned through decision-making, repetition, and action even when doubtful. There's a reason totalitarian regimes target beliefs first. Whoever believes in themselves is less likely to believe in themselves and other people. When you regain faith in yourself, you regain control of your behavior and your beliefs. The most radical action you can take today is to believe that your thoughts and voice matter. Becoming is not optional, it's urgent. Belief in yourself leads to vision, and vision in turn leads to purpose. But vision is not fantasy, it is the soul's GPS. It is precise, not vague or arbitrary, not about manifesting cars or followers or aesthetics, but rather about the thing that keeps haunting you in the quiet moment. The truth that glimmers when you're too exhausted to pretend. The dream that you're afraid to speak aloud, because doing so would make it real and you're not sure you can manage the weight of it. But here is the truth. If it's in you, it's for you. The vision didn't pick your neighbor. It picked you. It speaks your language. It moves through your hands. It rises in your chest every time you try to flee. Don't flee. It's time to turn toward it. Not tomorrow. Now, discipline is not a chore. It is not a punishment. It is not a burden. It is not a substitute for love. The path to freedom lies in self-discipline, not in control of others or their opinions, but in mastery of one's own impulses and emotions. You cannot construct anything sacred or eternal on chaos, but in rhythm, ritual, and devotion. Self-discipline is a statement like, I am no longer at the mercy of my past self. I am building a future I won't need to escape from. It arrives when motivation fails. The path through the valley of resistance is paved with discipline. Discipline transforms someday into now. So, face your fears and rise before the sun. Speak no even when your hands shake. Discipline is your compass in storms. Follow it and then act. In action, your beliefs meet resistance and either shatter or sharpen. You'll never feel ready, but you become ready by moving, by leaping before you see the net, by stepping forward with fear. Even a misstep made with purpose can be more powerful than a lifetime of overthinking. You can improve as you go, heal as you build, stumble forward because progress is still progress. So move. Take action as if your freedom depends on it, because it does. Being grateful is not a sign of weakness, passivity, or spiritual fluff for those too timid to fight. Gratitude is a powerful weapon in the fight against uncertainty. The power of gratitude lies in its ability to rewire your nervous system from scarcity to sovereignty. It's not about being thankful because everything is perfect, but rather about having the eyes to see through the illusion. Gratitude is a way to anchor yourself, not a show of pretense. It's about seeing the pain and choosing to find power, seeing the loss and still finding joy, choosing to rebuild, seeing the betrayal, and still choosing to trust yourself again. Gratitude isn't a passive attitude. It's a reminder that you have already survived the unthinkable. And if you can rise from that, anything is possible. Adaptability isn't about being agreeable or compliant. It's the pinnacle of intelligence. It's evolution in real time. In a world where stories are changing at a faster rate than that, being true requires adaptability. The key is to maintain flexibility without becoming rigid. It's about staying open without being overwhelmed and flowing without drowning. Those who are too soft will dissolve, while those who are too rigid will shatter. The leaders are those who can adapt, who can pivot, who can turn losses into leverage, who can let go of their old selves so that something wiser can emerge. Being adaptable doesn't mean changing your values. It means updating your strategies. Rather than abandoning the goal, reroute the path. Fear not uncertainty, but rather embrace it. Being truly adaptable means taking control of your internal state and becoming unshakable. It's not about pushing through pain or failing miserably. Resilience is about being able to bend without breaking, lose without collapsing, ache without abandoning yourself, and be elegant, sharp, and resilient. Your internal state determines your level of resilience, not the other way around. A resilient soul cannot be controlled or bribed. It is a quality that is forged, not given. Resilience is the knowledge to rest, not quit, the strength to feel and still rise, and the patience to rebuild the inner scaffolding when everything you relied on collapsed. Listen closely. Resilience is not reserved for a select few, but it is within you right this second. It is in every moment that you got back up after being told you couldn't, and you did anyway. It is in every time that you were ignored, dismissed, or underestimated, but you persisted. The system does not teach resilience. It is inherent in every person. It is not defined by what happened to you, but by what you did with it. You learn from everything, not only books and gurus. The heartbreak was a teacher, the failure a guide, the silence a syllabus, and the betrayal a curriculum in disguise. The mistake was not falling, but failing to study the ground you fell on. Reflection is the key to wisdom, because there is no wisdom without it. Jung didn't say, go find yourself in the seminar. Rather, he said, go into the shadow. This means facing your shame, envy, and the desire you were told was too much. By learning to sit with these emotions rather than judge them, you can transform them. It's like mining your own graveyard for gold. And once you do that, you'll no longer fear darkness, but instead be the light. So, let me repeat this with passion and no apologies. This is not the gentle route. It is not the serene route. It is the unfiltered, soul-led return to you. So shred the old scripts. Tear up the people leasing contracts. Let the day you choose yourself be the beginning of all things. Not because the world changes. Not because they see you, but because you do. Because the moment you stop seeking permission, you step into power. The moment you stop negotiating your worth, you rise. The moment you stop explaining your truth, you become undeniable. So burn the old scripts. Tear up the people leasing contracts. Let the world see you as you truly are. When you decide to be yourself, you become the author, the storm, the force, and the world. When you stop being vulnerable to betrayal, you become unstoppable. You were never confined by the world, but by a belief, not a wall, a chain, or a sentence whispered so many times that you couldn't break free. Now is the time to own your name, embrace your edge, and embody the version of yourself that once terrified you, because that version was always true. Began to refer to it as truth. You can't say that, want that, go there, or be more than this. And at some point, you bought into it. Not because it was true, but because it kept you safe. True freedom doesn't come from merely moving on. It requires facing one's self, one's past, and one's illusion. You've been evading this confrontation for a long time, and you've passed it off as comfort, realism, responsibility, but it's not that. It's tragedy masquerading as structure, shame as humility, and submission as the right thing to do. But here's the truth. You were never confined by your circumstances, but by the story you told yourself about them. Here, there are no gods or bars, just an idea that has been reinforced through repetition, wrapped in survival, and cemented in silence. What's scarier is that you built this idea, memory by memory, lie by lie, until your own mind became your master. Carl Jung referred to this as the undiscovered self, the part of you that is buried beneath cultural influences, childhood trauma, and your sense of self. Is this part of you that knows the truth but has been gaslit by your own conditioning? The undiscovered self is not in need of rescue, but of reclamation. You must cease self-deprecation and begin to break down barriers, for you were never broken. Rather, you were trained to remain small. The worst aspect of mental prisons is that they remain unseen as you go about your daily life, working, laughing with friends, and smiling on the outside. But deep down, you know that nothing is working. Your thoughts are bound, and your dreams are quietly dying, but you feel it every time you look in the mirror, when you can't sleep, and in the emptiness that follows every accomplishment that failed to liberate you. That pain, that emptiness, that dreadful sinking sensation, is your soul suffocating in its own prison. When you finally realize that the system you're trapped in was built by yourself, you will experience euphoria. This sacred moment of psychological dissonance does not make you a failure, but it does prepare you to unlearn, unhook, and disobey the scripts that have been passed down through generations like family heirlooms. After all, we inherit more than just genes. We inherit mental constraints. We are born into a legacy of silence and guilt when we desire more than what we were given. However, your purpose in life should not be to perpetuate these traits, but rather to break free from them. Rather than paying tribute to your ancestors by remaining broken, you should honor them by becoming free, fully, unapologetically, and whole. However, in order to achieve true freedom, you must change your perspective. You must stop dwelling on past trauma, stop romanticizing your struggles, and stop idolizing your limitations. This is the mental rebirth that occurs when you declare, "I'm done confusing safety with slavery." Isn't the same as living. A strong mind doesn't always triumph. It challenges, questions, and questions again the rules, the shame that kept you submissive in places you should have grown out of. Instead of seeking more motivation, what you really need is clarity. Clarity regarding your identity when no one is looking, clarity regarding your desires when no one else is speaking, and clarity regarding what you are willing to let go of. Even if it casts you as the antagonist in someone else's narrative. Because seeing things as they really are can be painful, but seeing the truth gives you the key that unlocks the door. You've been attempting to improve your mood without challenging your purpose, to find happiness within the confines of your prison. But you won't heal by making your prison more attractive. You will heal by escaping. What you need is a new reality, not a new routine. And in order to create that, you must believe. You must stand firm in your convictions. Faith isn't stupid, it's courageous. It faces every what-if head-on and declares, I'm willing to find out. You don't have to have all the answers. You simply have to trust that the prison was never actual, just a rehearsal, reinforcement, or repetition by a mind that didn't realize it was free. You're not here to merely survive. You're here to create, not to merely manage your pain. This life, this one chance you've been given, was never meant to be survived. It was meant to be set on fire. And that fire begins the moment you realize that the door has always been open. The only thing that's been keeping you inside is yourself. Good. Because once the illusion of the cage dissolves, once you stop feeding the walls with your fear, you start to see something you hadn't seen before. You are here to shape it into power, not just memorize its rules. Prior vision, not naive, not based on ego, not a hopeless desire to escape the suffering, but genuine vision. The kind that emerges from understanding, bravery, and awareness. This is not the type of vision taught in textbooks on strategy. Rather, it is the vision of a spirit that recalls. The spirit remembers its purpose, the memories it buried to stay alive, and the memories it had before the world turned its blinders on. Your vision does not need to be logical. Rather, it must make truth to you and to whatever it is that keeps you awake at night. To the part of you that has always known there was more for you. Not more money, not more attention, but more life, more light, more liberation. Vision is like a GPS for your soul. But you can't receive directions from it if you keep stifling your voice. All you can do is remember it. And once you remember, you can't go back to pretending because vision brings responsibility. You have to protect it, build around it, live it, not just dream it. And that demands purpose, not money, not attention, but freedom. The sacred reason you rise, the higher reason you say no, and the deeper reason you hold the line is purpose, not pretending. When your old self tries to crawl back into your skin, purpose isn't always loud. Sometimes it arrives in stillness, like a voice saying, you're no longer available to be ordinary because something in you woke up performance, not pretending. Quite old. Something wild and unbridled, no longer constrained by outside imposed ideologies. At this point, living becomes more than just a checklist. It becomes a cause. You can't merely get up and get to work. You are prepared for battle the moment you open your eyes. In no universe at all, they reminded you again and time again that you are only valuable based on your ability to prove them wrong. Oh no, that's not the case anymore. You stand up now with a purpose. You are now moving with honesty. What they said was excessive, so now you construct it. Not because it's simple, but because it's who you are, you do it. Purpose, however, is meaningless in the absence of action. Walking firmly is essential if you want to bring it into the world. This is the type that refuses to bargain with vulnerability. You know the kind. It may change direction regardless of your mood. That is accept. The type that respects your higher self, even while your lower self cries out for help. The point of discipline is not self-inflicted punishment. Making oneself a priority is key. It's a way to demonstrate to the cosmos, your consciousness, your physical self, and your shadow that you're committed to achieving freedom. You have already witnessed the consequences of a lack of discipline. Depleting relationships, dormant dreams, and rusty potential due to procrastination are things of the past. Everything you do from now on is holy. Every routine is an assertion. Whenever you follow through on a pledge to oneself, you lay the groundwork for a mind free of constraints. Rules and regulations are not limitations. You're saved by it. It's the force that lifts you up from the weight of your past and into the future, which is waiting for those who are courageous enough to seize it. Because you're not yet prepared, you must meet it by doing rather than by talking, writing, or planning for months. I am prepared, just because it's accurate, not because it's flawless. As you move forward, the perceived boundaries between you and your goals gradually dissolve. In every case, when you express your mind, you break down another barrier. Doing the opposite of what your fears taught you to do brings you closer to the open field with each passing moment. Becoming tangible is the key. Behavior provides proof to your spirit. It speaks to your soul. We're no longer confined. Somewhere along the line, you start to believe. Your life becomes unmistakable when your beliefs and actions are in harmony. The reason it's rooted, not the volume. You are finally free, not because you are perfect. Liberation is not just now. Embracing all of yourselves, past, present, and future, is an integral part of this integration process. The one who stayed too long, the one who departed too quickly, the one who sabotaged, the one who survived, all of these people were hurt and confused. Collect them. Meet their gaze. Then you grasp them. Then you claim, we're not at war anymore. You have no shame for your history. You read up on it. No one ever cuts off their own shadow. Give instructions. You can't take back the past. You classify them as medicines, as mastery, into a memory that works for you now instead than against you. In this way, the jail breaks down, not by erasing your history, but by deciding to harness its strength. After you've accomplished that, accepted your contradiction, and let go of the fear of being misunderstood, you'll be ready to move into your ultimate truth. You are always free. Trauma, terror, silence, and the need to survive conditioned you to believe that this is how you were trained. But as awareness sets in, training comes to a halt. When embodiment starts, falsehood ends. And the other side of you, the one you haven't seen in a long time, the one that lies behind those eyes. You were never in prison. They merely gave you a label. The walls have finally crumbled. We can now enter. The keys were always in your possession. Thank you. I was only holding you here because you asked me to. Now get down, Warden. Get up. Breathe. Take a step forward. Slowly, not loudly, not perfectly, but free. Because the actual prison was never constructed of steel. It was silenced. You have broken it irrevocably.